Heed the Call podcast. Fully trust the football cognoscente's ability to handle all Shedeur-related discourse.
Of course. I mean, measured, thoughtful. The discourse going to be off the charts. Welcome to Heed the Call post 2025 NFL Draft Recap. Well, to be totally honest, as we record this, it is round 7, but we are at the stage where NFL Network has a bunch of puppies on the screen, and now it's a country singer that I know is quite famous because I recognize him, but I don't know who he is. So when you're at that stage of the telecast, we could safely start our broadcast. Dan Hanzus here with Marc Sessler, Conor Orr, gravy on the ones and twos. And yes, this will be a draft. Hopefully, if you're, let's say, Justin Graver, our producer, in 20 years, people will remember it for Cam Ward, and he entered the league and became the next face of Titans football. Or, Travis Hunter maybe truly does become the NFL's Ohtani, and everybody gets excited about that. Or any number of other high-impact players get taken. But from where we stand right now, Sessy, Shedeur Sanders is kind of like the story of this draft. He does finally come off the board. It took until the 5th round. And Sessy, and we're going to break it all down, and then everything else that we took out of the 7 rounds. But just to put it into perspective, I'll use Mel Kiper's rankings as one, a guy that's been doing this for 50 years or whatever. He was the 5th, number 5 ranked prospect on his board. Whether you think that's right or not, that's not the point. The fact that he went in the 5th round at 144 is something you just don't see in this realm, and that's why people were kind of fascinated by it.
Well, it was the story, and Conor Orr with us wrote a pretty great reaction to what happened a day ago and what unfolded today. And he goes to where he goes, to Cleveland. It's kind of wild. Like, you would have thought that could have happened in the first round. It's one of these, I started to feel bad for him as a person. And I get that, the father is this and this or that, and there's all these issues. This is still a human being who is being telecast pick by pick, not being chosen. We don't love that. We've all felt that in our own way. So, Conor, I'd ask you, as you would analyze this a day ago to today, what happened here? Why does this? Well, I had asked this question, draft analysts who are in theory working off information, and people working with on the phones with people of importance. How do we project him up here, but he doesn't exist until way down here?
So it's a great question, and I have a few thoughts on this. One, I think that we have to remember that not only has Dion worked with almost everyone in some corner of our business, including a lot of the really popular people who make these draft boards, but Colorado had a super NFL heavy staff, guys like Pat Shermer, who talks to a lot of NFL reporters, and guys who are going to be familiar with NFL media and know how to get that positive messaging across. I mean, anytime that you would read anything that Shermer said about Shedeur Sanders, you would think, my goodness, this guy's going to be special. And so I think that's initially how you get up there. But I think objectively, he was probably a fringe first round, early second round prospect. But what happens is, after you get out of the midway point of the second round, you're not drafting a quarterback who you need to start. You're drafting a quarterback who you hope has untapped upside, which Sanders does not. That's the issue with Sanders, right? He has been maximized as a player because his dad has been stacking the deck in his favor for 15 years, right? He is the best version of himself, or very close to the best version of himself already. So you factor that in, plus the fact that you need your backup to be a servant, right? You need your backup to do a lot of grunt work. You need your backup to be an understudy, and you need your backup to be anonymous. That is the polar opposite of what Shedeur Sanders is, like him or don't like him. And so every general manager from that point on, pick whatever, midway through the second round until the fifth round was like, well, screw this. Like, I'm not going to get my ass fired. I'm not going to piss off my starter. I'm not going to piss off the rest of my team for a guy that I hope doesn't see the field unless something really bad happens. If that's the case, then just give me somebody else and I'll make it work. And so I think that, plus the fact that it's a very low QB need draft, explains that sort of black hole that we saw between rounds 2 and 5. I think that's sort of the fairest analysis of that.
That is fair. And I think what we heard with the Zum drop, like, it's going to be probably a car crash in all the debate shows and stuff this week, because nobody wants to look at these things, it seems, from a measured side and be like, okay, who's to blame for this? All right. I think it's both sides. And you wrote about that, Conor, as well. And I agree that, okay, so one side of it is, I believe that and let's take away just the ability to play and what his play is, but how Shedeur Sanders, how his father, how the people around him presented him leading up to the draft, whether that is from not the pro day, but the big showcase, to the way they set up the nightclub on Thursday night for round 1, which was absolutely ridiculous. In retrospect, it was ridiculous in real time and looks even more absurd when he goes in the 5th round. And some of the interview, and I know there was Kyle Brandt was very vocal about this, that, you know, who's leaking that some of his pre-draft interviews were poor or put him in a poor light. Like, I get why you don't want to kind of assassinate a kid's character ahead of the biggest night of his life. But at the same time, those were, based on what we're hearing, he did not interview well, and he made mistakes in the process. So he put himself in that situation. And then on the other side, and we see this all the time in the NFL, and it's not just playbook. The NFL is a copycat league. And owners and general managers, once there's some type of consensus groupthink, a lot of times it just takes on a life of its own. There is no way. He might not be the number 5 on the big board in reality, okay? But he's probably not where he went here either, and certainly not a 5th round guy. There was something else that took hold and gained a gravity and a force of its own that led to this happening. And I think that's because people get too caught up, the front offices, in what they're reading online and being afraid to kind of go and do your own thing. And I think that became part of this too. And so it's a strange situation. I don't think it's one we're going to see very often. And I think maybe it was a perfect storm because Deion Sanders is this cult of personality and this larger than life guy. And then, you know, the other part of it is, Mark, let's talk about it. Like, the fact that he goes to the Browns is kind of crazy. It's like the final dizzying coda to this story. It's a very strange move by Cleveland, in my opinion. It's a move that the Browns make after passing on him 5 times or whatever, and taking a quarterback in the 3rd round. And there are teams that I would trust to handle this situation delicately, but the Cleveland Browns are not one of them. So they have Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett. Who did they get in the 3rd round? Who's
Dylan Gabriel.
And now Shedeur Sanders. That is going to be an absolute zoo at Cleveland training camp. And quite frankly, I think it's been a highly erratic offseason for the Browns in general. So the fact that they ended up going this way doesn't stun me, but I don't feel great about it ending in a good place for anybody.
I don't have a problem with them taking him where they got him, because it's like, if he's going to keep tumbling down, like, Dylan Gabriel is a project. I think he's 24 years old. He's like kind of like off the last year's like older quarterbacks that we stopped caring about their age so much. Like, he's a bit of a product of that. Like, Kenny Pickett could be out of there by late August. So it's like, I think you take Shedeur Sanders and just roll with it. And like, he felt
yeah, but
you.
then what are you doing?
But
then?
he felt you.
What does that mean? Take Shedeur Sanders and roll.
Yeah,
but
we were talking openly about the Jets taking him in the 4th round. And like, if he's going to fall that far,
I'll give the Jets as another team that probably wouldn't do this well. So I'm not saying that it would have played out well, but the Jets have 36-year-old Tyrod Taylor behind Justin Fields, an unproven guy, and then I think Jordan Travis is. So they don't really have somebody.
What's different about them in Cleveland though? Like, Joe Flacco is there for like 5 months. So
you took a quarterback in the 3rd round. How do you think Gabriel feels about this? I mean,
I know, but Dylan Gabriel,
gonna...
I think Dylan Gabriel was a bigger reach than Shedeur Sanders, where he was picked. Like Dylan Gabriel is a smaller, older quarterback with not a great arm. Like I it was like in defiance of taking Shedeur Sanders, and then they took him. It's like, if he's gonna just come to you, take him when you take him. Like I kept thinking the Saints or the Jets or someone would, and like it happened. But then you're right. Like I get the other side of it, is like you've got to live with it. But the fact that he fell to this low in the draft, like you live with it a lot less. You live like Deion Sanders is not a major factor when your child was taken in like the deep rounds after the most disappointing
well, just
draft
wait until he's fourth
around
on the depth chart, and Deion has something to say about it. It invites chaos.
I'm sure
for a team
Cleveland will
that does
handle
not
it well.
handle
We
chaos
know
well.
that.
That's my point.
Yeah.
I think here's what's sort of interesting about this. In you can galaxy brain it, or you can look at it from a very point blank range, and I've done both, and that's why I struggle with this pick. Point blank, my thought was, what on God's green earth are you guys doing? You just dealt with so much at that position with Deshaun Watson. Why don't you buy yourself just a modicum of normalcy and get through one season of just being a franchise, just a regular franchise that isn't weighted down by some magnanimously stupid decision. On the other hand, the pick that you made, the trade that you made at number 2, bought you the opportunity to fill a lot of holes within the first 3 rounds of the draft. And I've talked to a lot of people about the Ravens draft strategy, and that's what they do with their comp picks, where when they're in rounds 4 and beyond, they simply just take the best absolute player on the board, regardless of position. And so if this is Shedeur Sanders, I mean, again, your point blank reaction is like, what on earth? But the other side of it is, it's a 5th round pick. You cut a decent number of these guys after camp or after, one season anyway. It's not this financial pitfall. And I think you're going to know really quickly whether Shedeur Sanders, who for the first time in his life has to make reps matter, has to make the most of very limited practice time, if he's going to thrive in that environment or wilt. And if he wilts, cut him. I think in the 5th round, you're expendable. You're wholly expendable, which Sanders has never been in his life. So that's why I guess it doesn't bother me, because if he's an asshole, if the dad weighs in, if Stephen A. Smith is tweeting about it, just cut him. And it doesn't matter anymore.
And can I ask one question? It's not a Browns thing specific, but the Browns have a history of failing at experiments. So the Browns should not dial up this or pull this lever. It's like teams don't think about, they're not here to think about themselves that way. That's how we think about them. But a team that needed a quarterback, that needed someone to come in and maybe bring hope, is who's going to go for this. The Browns aren't here to think about themselves as a failed experiment as a sports team.
Well, no one's saying that they should.
Well, no, but that's why did they take them? Why not? I think it was literally.
It seems like the type of mood. Divorce the melodrama around the Cleveland Browns.
Sure, or the player.
It is no, you can't divorce it from the player, because he's that. Everything.
But then what? The Eagles take him, and we love the Eagles. You know what I mean? It's like what?
Because you trust an organization like the Eagles to figure this out. You don't trust the Browns to figure it out. Not when. And that to me is the thing that really, because their first 2 quarterbacks on the depth chart are a 40-year-old and a failed first-round pick journeyman. So it's not so much about that. I just question the process and even who's making the decisions with Cleveland when you take a quarterback in the 3rd round, which is a premium pick within the worlds of the NFL, like a mid-round pick, a Friday pick, and then you immediately, in my opinion, undermine that pick by bringing in Sanders. It's like one of those things is not going to work. So what's the point? I don't know. It's a big story, by the way, when you get Trump, dialing in on
or he's hammered.
Media.
One of the two is occurring. Yeah.
All right, Sessler. Let's use your.
What is
your best
wrong
Trump
with
impression.
the NFL owners? Let's be honest. Are they stupid? Well, they might be. They might. Deion Sanders was he's a college football player. We loved him very much, and was even greater in the NFL. He's also He was a very good coach, streetwise.
Streetwise.
And smart, okay. Therefore, Shedeur, his quarterback son, has phenomenal genes. We love that. We love the genes. I know that I'm important with the genes. And it is all set for greatness. Greatness with a capital G, by the way. Like, that's my issue with, is like, can we work on the...
No editorializing, Mark. Keep going.
Sorry. He should be picked immediately by a team. Immediately picked in quotes, okay? By a team, and he wants to win. Good luck, Shedeur, and say hello to your wonderful father. We're good friends. We love the forest. We love animals. We love animals too.
I missed the personal message at the end of it. Yeah. And speaking of Twitter, this was a Deion Sanders tweet from March 13th, 2018. That's important to add. Coach Prime, I love what the Browns have done this offseason, but if I'm a young QB, ain't no way I'm going to Cleveland. I would pull an Eli Manning if possible.
Ouch.
And
that got taken out of your hands, right? That's what got taken out of your hands.
And then let's check out Shedeur's reaction if you're watching on YouTube, and thank you for tuning in, when he learned he was finally off the board in the 5th round. Good for him. It's I'm sure it was a humbling experience.
Looks like an airport.
Perhaps he's been humbled for the first time in his life, and let's see how he reacts to it.
So I do think that's an interesting component to this, Dan and Mark, right? Like think about this. And the Deion Inc. strategy clearly failed. Deion is never going to say it failed, but I think that he and everybody else in that circle knows that part of the reason he dropped is because of the tailwind of this ridiculousness that they put into Shedeur during the draft process. And I do wonder if part of the gamble here for Cleveland, and we can talk about how this is going to work in practicality in a second, but I think part of the gamble there is like, man, maybe this is the bucket of cold water that everyone needed. And now we're getting the fringe 1st round quarterback in the 5th round, and he can develop into this high-end backup, possibly a top 15 starter at some point in time. And again, we talked about this on the group chat a little bit, but I think how it will work in actuality is whoever loses that job between him and Dylan Gabriel for QB3 is just going to get hurt, in air quotes, at the end of the summer and be put on IR. And so you're going to be able to keep all these guys. You're going to have 3 quarterbacks on the roster and one of them on IR with Deshaun Watson. And just see what happens. I mean,
it just seems like a lot.
I went from
I think
it.
Connor, I think you're dead on with that.
That's just a lot.
You
but I
can
don't know.
store all these guys. Yep.
And it's hard for me because that's what it's really all about at the end of the day. Like every 2 steps, I'll think about it and be like, Jesus, what a fucking awful decision this was. And then 2 steps later, I'm like, okay, well, let's try to think through this and try to reason it and stuff like that. So it really is a strange situation.
But Dan, right now, if you're Mary Kay Cabot, you're like, hello. The
Cleveland beat is never a boring place. That is for sure. All right. We'll touch on this a little bit later in some other realms. But the last point I had about this, kind of going back to what I was saying about how the NFL can be it's almost high schoolish, how, and Mean Girls-ish. And Shedeur was the former pretty girl that now was sitting with the kid with the mouth guard
nerd girls. Like, let's be honest,
right? Girls
that are nerds, and it's tough to be a nerd as a girl, but like you can do it.
Okay. Yes, that too. But Sean Payton was a perfect example of like what I was trying to wrap my head around. Do we have that quote? This was from after Thursday night when the Shedeur Sanders nightclub shut down without
Friday, actually.
Release.
This was from
Friday, excuse me.
You would, if you're a team that needs a quarterback, and we kind of know at the start of the draft who those teams are, but you're getting, now again, I saw him when he was in junior high, and then I saw him when he was in high school, and then I saw him when he was a sophomore in high school come practice on their way to Florida. And so I've had a chance, and I've known Deion, and I felt like I grew up watching him play, and he's gonna, like, there'll be this chip on his shoulder, and beware, because this guy's gonna play in this league.
How about this, Sean? How about this? You
Why
pop
is he
his
wearing
fart.
Paris Saint-Germain sweatsuit, by the way?
I don't know.
reason?
How about this, Sean? How about this? Fucking take him then. Take him yourself. It doesn't mean that Bo Nix is no longer your QB1. Like, it means here's a crazy thought. Here's something that happens. Quarterbacks get hurt. Quarterbacks get hurt all the time, and you're saying how this guy, get this off the screen. You're telling me this guy is going to be a great quarterback, and he's going to have a chip on his shoulder and all this shit. The great Charlie Casserly once said, and I almost said late, but that's not true. The great Charlie Casserly once said, you know who the most important player on your roster is? Your starting quarterback. And you know who's the second most important player? Your second quarterback. And the third is your third quarterback. You're telling me, if you think that highly of Shedeur Sanders, that he can't beat out Jared Stidham for your backup job and have some insurance in the form of, by your own explanation of who this kid is, like a highly talented future NFL difference maker? Like, he's part of the problem too. So don't miss me with these quotes about, oh, he's a great kid and he's going to be a good player. And tisk all you other teams that have a need and didn't go get the quarterback, because I don't need one, because I have Bo Nix. I'm set for the next 20 years. But for you guys, enough of you.
I totally
pack you up, bro. You're out of here.
I totally appreciate the theatrics, but like part of the assumption here is that Sean Payton could not possibly be disingenuous.
Well, the whole point, Cessy. That's what I'm saying. It's like, just don't even bother with this bullshit. You didn't want him for the same reasons all these other teams did.
Well, they're from 40 minutes away. If you think about
this idea that he's not worth the trouble. Okay, right. So don't tell me he is, and then don't pick him until the 5th round, and then he goes to fucking Cleveland of all places. All right.
Why? I don't like the emphasis on that.
It's a disaster waiting to happen, Mark. That's why. This is not going to work out.
Why am I doing anything I'm doing?
Please bring this. And if you would have went to the Jets, if that makes you feel better, same thing.
It would have been like, we'd be like flying like high, like you're a grand old flag, you're a high flying, like we'd be like throwing like fighter jets going over the podcast studio. Please, like of course that would be different. So,
but here's the difference, Mark. It's not going to work out. It's not going to work out.
It's not the difference.
They don't have the right
now you're able to poke fun. Now you're able to poke fun for months in a row versus me. And even if it were me, I'd be like, I won't say much. I'll be quiet. And it's like now that he went to the Browns, it's going to be a massive nuclear bomb.
Hey, listen, that's not my fault.
Implodes inside the United States.
Your team invited this. They said we can handle the big top. And like my team, certain teams cannot handle the big top. So buckle up, Browns fans.
I don't disagree, Connor. Am I wrong? Let's
check out the draft room in Cleveland after the pick was made.
Oh, please!
Give any indication of
massive wet
who was
farts
involved
being
here.
Left and right. Like,
oh my God! It's like two guys that just learned they're going to get lethal injection in 3 years.
That is fair. Andrew
terms,
Berry, let's juice up Andrew Berry just a little bit there.
Who actually made this pick? It doesn't look like those two guys were down.
Well, I know who's made picks for them at that position before, and it wasn't the two of them. So
I think that is always a lingering possibility. Yeah.
All right.
Big ups to Charlie Casserly, by the way, still alive, loving it.
Hell yeah! Would you just wiki that?
No, I have to double check.
I remember seeing Charlie Casserly was on, speaking of the big top being over certain franchises, Charlie being in the old break room at NFL media, and he was in charge of hiring Todd Bowles and McCagnon as the Jets GM, and then it was me and him in this little kitchen. I said, hey, feeling good about the choices you made? Oh, they're going to be great. Both of them. I see them. They're going to be great. They're perfect. They're perfectly aligned. Blah, 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 blah. Didn't work out that way.
You and him in a little kitchen. That's my favorite part of that.
Yeah. You remember that little kitchen at the old Culver City
It was a little kitchen. You could only make small items, small little dishes for just you and someone else.
That was a good recovery because you do sometimes slip into Trump's voice naturally, and then you actually turned it into a Trump impression. I like that.
Well, you gave me an avenue on this episode to do that.
All right. What else happened in this draft? Because other stuff did happen. Before we do that, why don't we quickly remind you that on Underdog, it's never too early to lock in your season-long NFL higher lowers. This is a really good idea. You want to get rich. You want to get little Susie to get her braces. This is how you do it. I wouldn't suggest that. This is just fun on the side. I wouldn't put like major family things. I wouldn't line it up with your Underdog game playing. Okay, but
if you have a little Susie, you gotta like you've taken.
That's a separate.
There was some gravity to that. Yeah,
Susie's mouth guard and braces, separate trust fund. Okay, now if Daddy or Mommy has a little bit extra scratch on the side, head over to Underdog. Absolutely, because it's never too early, like I said, to lock in those higher lowers for 25. And we already have rookie projections up. Ashton Genty, this is a good one. Currently, the betting favorite to win Offensive Rookie of the Year is set at a higher lower of 1,049.5 rushing yards. You bang that over. Higher. You bang it. Cam Ward's passing yards set at higher or lower, 3149.5. You bang the lower. You bang it.
Wait. No, it was 3149.5 on Thursday night. Right now on Saturday, it's already up to 3199.5. That's why you got to go get these done right now, because these projections are moving.
This is from an addict, so yeah.
Unless, Justin, you were already banging the lower, you just bang it again and you tell your friends.
Well, you could hit the sweet spot. You hit the higher on 3149 and the lower on 3199 and win both if it goes for 31.
Now you're galaxy branding it.
Psychotic.
And I love it. So get on this now. Just scan the QR code on your screen to get started, or sign up with the code HTC. And new users can receive up to $1,000 in bonus credits when they deposit for our U.S. audience only. Okay, so let's talk about other things, okay? Because there's plenty to talk about here. Connor, I want to talk about who you think nailed it. Who had a great 7 rounds or a great run of picks that you think are going to set them up well for 25 and beyond?
I have 2, but let's start with the Cowboys, which just absolutely crushes me to say it. I mean, my God, during this draft, I've defended the Browns, an organization that I gave away, and now I'm kind of pumping up the Cowboys, which, trust me, this sucks for me. I'm not excited about it. But if you look,
but it also shows your integrity, and that's important too.
I suppose
shines through.
Yeah.
And if I'm Brian Schottenheimer, I'm not totally excited. But if I'm Matt Eberflus, I'm absolutely thrilled, because Eberflus likes to play minimum blitz defense. He likes to win with his guys up front. And so Ezraku from Boston College, hugely productive guy that I think a lot of people had first round grades on, slips to them in the second. You can pair him with Parsons. And what Eberflus does really well is kind of your stunts in your games, right? I'm going to have this guy loop in and then this guy crash on the other side. Now he has the speed and kind of the dogs to do that. But Revel, this kid, the cornerback from East Carolina, if you look at just the tape of him, and he missed most of 2024 with a torn ACL, but 2023, you watch that game against Michigan, and that was the Michigan team that I guess stole a bunch of signs and won the national championship. But he is dominant against the best college program in the country. There was a play where Colston Loveland knocked him out cold on like a blindside block, and he still tackles the guy in the backfield. He can recover. He's got like a Richard Sherman body type. And so that gives Matt Eberflus a ton of flexibility on the back end, because even when he's beat 5-10 yards, he can recover, he can swat the ball away. And I think teams just stayed away from him because of the injury issues, right? That's the major red flag. But the one advantage to being the unfireable GM in Jerry Jones is that you can always make this pick, because it doesn't matter. You did that with Jalen Smith out of Notre Dame a couple years ago when everyone thought that he could never play again. And now you're doing it again with a guy who dropped 2 rounds because of the fear over that torn ACL, and he had some history of injuries in high school. But my God, if this guy's healthy like that, he's quite possibly the best cornerback in this whole draft class, period.
Sexy. Yeah. I mean, I'll throw another team out there that I thought had a really good weekend. And I'm not going to get here and pretend like I could tell you why this prospect or that prospect is going to translate as a pro, because even the people that study the tape don't know. We don't know how these guys are going to play, but I can talk about teams from how they attack their roster needs and how they're building around certain players. I think one of the most fascinating people in the NFL entering 2025 is Caleb Williams. I think he had one of the more interesting topsy-turvy rookie years ever. And I really do believe him. I do think he is good. So what I wanted to see personally, and I'm sure a lot of Bears fans are in the same boat, was like, all right, help this kid. Like, give him what he didn't have last year, which was better protection, more weapons. So what do? Okay. So they make in the free agency, they attack the offensive line. Very nice. Then they go in the first round, the top 10, and they take Colston Loveland, the guy you just mentioned, who has the power to knock a man out cold. When he gains a head of steam. So you give him an important seam stretcher type player. Then Ryan Poles comes and gets more help with, what's his name, Luther Burden III. And this is apparently a type of player who has drawn similarities in play to Deebo Samuel. We'll see. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. But you get another playmaker in there. Then they go back and they add in the third round another offensive tackle in Ozzie Trapillo. So you have a GM and a team that's saying, we believe in this kid. We believe in his upside. There's a reason why we took him as the face of the franchise, and we'll see how it all works. But Ben Johnson and Poles, I think, handled and attacked this draft the right way. I'm
with you. I think, like, what can we do on these days other than to say, like, it seems like you made smart decisions. You didn't overreach. I'm with you. I think we're in the same camp, too. I'll throw a team out there. I thought the Seahawks did a nice job. Okay, like, and I'm really only going to point to a couple things here. Like, you trade up for Nick Emanwari, like the safety, who is, I get it. They're saying it's a bit of a raw prospects, but this is a Seahawks type player. And then you are the team that went and got Jalen Milroe, the quarterback. Like, and you've got time. You've got Sam Darnold there. And so it's like you've got time to let him incubate and grow. And like they're already saying this is one of the best running quarterback prospects around of all time, potentially. And let the rest of it just develop and be in an NFL system. And you're not rushed to be there like 4 months from now in September when all hell is breaking loose. Like you can be on the sideline. Like I kind of think Seattle under Mike Macdonald, like they need to figure out who they are and what they are. They're not Pete Carroll. It's post Pete Carroll. Like I like what they did. I thought that they just made smart picks. And you got the quarterback. Like we've spent 30 minutes talking about Shedeur Sanders. Like I would much rather the Browns had taken Jalen Milroe and just find out what you've got there. And so I really love what Seattle did. That's my hot take there.
I can't cheer this on enough. I think outside of Dallas, and I would say probably slightly above Dallas, I would have put them as my best all over draft. And here's why. So Eamon Murray is going to help Seattle. Mike Macdonald loves big nickel, right? A defense where your other extra defensive back is thick enough to handle the run or, fleet of foot enough to handle the pass. That's been labeled by a lot of people as the anti-Shanahan defense. It's the one way that you can survive all the things that offense is trying to get you to do in mixing personnel. And Milroe, I'll just say this, because I went back to some of my notes while he was at Alabama, and this is an NFL replicable run game, and you could put him in at quarterback tomorrow when Seattle gets inside the 10-yard line and score at will. And one of the coolest things that Alabama did, they ran this version of, like a traditional zone read, right? Where a quarterback has to look at the defensive end that's coming and decide whether he wants to pull the ball or hand it off. But Alabama said, F it. We're going to block that guy every time. We're going to fake a zone read. And then we're just going to get Jalen Milroe to the edge. And as soon as he gets to the edge, if it's him and another player, he's going to destroy him. And it doesn't matter who it is because you have no one in the secondary that's fast enough, that's strong enough, and you have no linebacker who's fast enough. The player just doesn't exist. And you can't tell me that won't work at the NFL level. I think if Sam Darnold gets the Seahawks to the 9-yard line, yank his ass out, and you can put Jalen Milroe in there tomorrow. That's something that you can lock in points with that. And I think that's so exciting.
That takes a little bit of touch, right? And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Darnold was one of the better red zone passers in the league last year. He played very well for Minnesota. But if you handle it with a deft touch, absolutely makes your team harder to defend. I do wonder if the Seahawks, made their team better by adding this dynamic quarterback. If I'm Sam Darnold, because I think we talked about this, Connor, that they have an out of that contract after what, 1 year?
Yeah.
Okay, now they take a third-round pick at quarterback, and I don't think Darnold will wilt, because I think part of the reason why Darnold became such a great comeback story is because he's strong mentally and talented physically. But at the same time, now you have someone that they're obviously very high on, that they used the third-round pick on. It's just something to keep an eye on if Darnold struggles this year, that they do have somebody that they targeted this year in the draft behind him on the depth chart.
Is it like, it is the kind of thing where, like, if you're
a very
Darnold,
cheap option, by the way. We'll add that as well.
Absolutely, yeah. But if you're Darnold, it's like you brought one of them. Like all we hear about Miller is like there's a sexy element to his game where it's like the minute that Darnold struggles, which will be like by quarter 3 of week 1, and I'm not saying struggle hard, but just like you want to go see this other guy. Like, I don't love that for middling quarterbacks who are not Peyton Manning, like where you've got a guy behind you that has like superhero type skills. But that said, like if you're the Seahawks, of course you go do it.
Well, so first of all, I mean, you know, we didn't mention this at all. You have Gray Zabel, who was like one of the best offensive linemen, most versatile offensive linemen in the draft, and that's what you lead off with. He gives you an answer.
Daniel Jeremiah's #1 player in the draft. So
yeah, I mean, Gray Zabel is awesome. He will allow you to maybe even shuffle other guys around based on how camp turns out. So if you have maybe a guy that's a tackle, that's a better guard that could kick out to tackle, a center that could kick out to guard, he's going to give you all that versatility, and he's going to help you kind of elevate that whole thing. But to just kind of put a button on the Milroe thing, I might be in the minority on this, but I think your backup should be stylistically different to some degree and should be able to have answers in the run game specifically, because if you have a traditional drop back backup quarterback, he's just a crappier version of what you already have. Whereas if you have one of the top 10 most gifted running quarterbacks in the NFL, you still have an advantage in some way, shape, or form, where even if your lead guy goes out, there's a package of plays that you have that you can win with and potentially outmuscle a team with. And I think that's what was really smart. And the last time John Schneider drafted a quarterback in the 3rd round ended up being Russell Wilson. So wasn't that bad, you know?
True. So I mentioned the Chicago rookie quarterback from last year, and how we believe that he can be special potentially given the right setup. Another guy that entered the league last year in New England is Drake May. Ceci, I know you were a fan of what the Patriots did this draft.
Absolutely. I mean, look at like Travion Henderson, our friend, Josh Norris, one of his favorite running backs. And I think that this is a difference-making type of running back. They went and got their offensive lineman early. It was very much a Mike Vrabel draft to me, where it showed what I like about it. If you're a Patriots fan, Mike Vrabel disenfranchised from the Titans because I think there were general manager coach issues, right, Justin? And like, I think what it shows me about New England is like Mike Vrabel, I'm not saying he's in control, that's so great, but they got a running back, they got a great offensive lineman, and your quarterback is being supported by 2 difference-making individuals. So if you're New England, come out of here just not effing this up, basically. And I thought they did a very solid, clean job.
You could put that label on every team, right? Don't F this thing up.
Yes.
All 32.
Not the goal. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Mark, you didn't mention Kyle Williams, who they grabbed, I think, in the 3rd round. One of my favorite players in the draft. I think Hayden Winks, who does the show with Josh Norris, had projected him when they did their day 2 mock, had him going 35 to the Titans, which would have been a dream come true for me. He goes much later here in the actual draft, but a guy that can play on the outside, even though he's only 5'11", he's going to be Drake May's go-to receiver. And with Stephon Diggs there also to kind of help bring him up to speed quickly. My favorite part about Kyle Williams is he has an extremely refined release package. He can beat press coverage, which is going to allow him to contribute from day 1 as a rookie. He's not going to need a big learning curve. So I think, I agree. I think the Patriots knocked it out of the park with this one.
I have an extremely refined release package, I've been told, just to let you know.
Also with Ramondre Stevenson, coming off a year where he couldn't hold on to the ball, like giving them both somebody, I guess, different position, but similar thing, Connor, where it's like show 2 different types of guys. Like, so now you have Henderson there in the backfield as a dual threat type guy who can win with vision and speed. And Stevenson, if he can hold on to the ball, that could be a really good. I always liked Stevenson, and I thought last year was a real big step back for him. But now they have a little bit of a backup plan and potentially a dynamic one if those ball security issues continue. Do we want to throw some shade at anyone right now? Is there anybody that had an issue with someone's draft or decision making, team, coach, anything like that? Or are we all positive here? Are we all just out here just believing everything is great and nothing could possibly go wrong?
Let me confirm this, because like we said, we started this at the very end of the draft, and so I don't want to be factually incorrect when I start complaining about this. The Jacksonville Jaguars still do not have a damn defensive tackle. Like, what the fuck? Like, I'm sorry, but like, this is like, it's a position of need, and every single person who's
they'll get in free agency. Right? The new league year is coming up. They're okay, right?
Every single person who has gone in there and tried to fix it and left is like, we've got great linebackers who can fly around. We've got great edge players and no one to hold it together in the middle. And then you were sitting at 5 with the best defensive tackle in the draft plopping straight into your lap, and you traded up for a player that, like, okay, we're changing the world. I'm the Steve Jobs of iPhones, and I did it. And get a damn defensive tackle. The Eagles just kicked the shit out of everybody by getting defensive tackles. It's like, what's the Louis C.K. line? Like, stop complaining, just eat food. Like, just fucking get a defensive tackle. My God.
This is one of my favorite subplots of this upcoming season. Conor very clearly has an issue with Jaguars general manager James Gladstone.
It is overt. Yeah.
It seems almost personal, and we can dig into that, or maybe Conor could dig into that with his therapist. But Gladstone,
don't get Jordan to come on here and do this. I'm not ready for therapy.
I think we'll hash it all out. We'll figure it out. The peacemaker will have to come in maybe if it comes to it. But Gladstone, obviously, I'll tell you what, if you're Joey Gladstone, right?
Joey.
No, if you're James Gladstone, right, and you just made the buzziest move of the draft, and you're somebody who doesn't mind talking into a microphone, and you don't mind having the stage, it gives you all the more reason to go get a Travis Hunter. So with that said, let's play a little clip of the press conference where Travis Hunter was introduced to the Jacksonville and I suppose national media, and just to give it a little extra touch, because the man speaks with a cinematic flourish. There's something about the way he's an orator of great drama. He's a man that I think puts a lot of effort into every word he's going to say. So he deserved to have a little bit of backing orchestra. So enjoy James Gladstone on Travis Hunter. Conor, I hope your ears don't start bleeding.
Yeah, as we sit here, Travis Hunter is a Jacksonville Jaguar, and really what comes to mind for me, right? Thinking about the sport of football and really the power of the game itself, right? Its capacity to ignite belief, right? Belief in ourselves, belief in others, right? Belief in achieving what many
believe in America
deem impossible. Travis Hunter, he embodies belief, right? He's a rare person, he's a rare player, but he's also a reminder that the boundaries of the game of football were built to be challenged. And so the decision to select him was actually a statement for how we plan to move, who we are, and we want him to be nothing more than him. Because when he is, he elevates the space around him. From the football field to the city to the game of football itself, Travis Hunter is who we've been hunting up. Couldn't be more jacked to be sitting right here beside him and introduce you all to the man of the hour.
Wouldn't that be a great controversy if it surfaced in the next couple of days that he just like liberally sampled from his own 2021 high school valedictorian speech from 2021.
That is no different than when have you ever when I've gone to like with a girlfriend, I've got a girlfriend, like I forgot to pick something up at CVS and I come home with a speech about why here's the thing. CVS was not ready for me. The front door was not ready for me. Like they got a lot of things going on over there. So it's like, you just got to come up with I kind of like his verbal spinning there a little bit.
I mean, that's how you talk when you're about to put a fucking human on Mars. Not because you just blew up the next 4 drafts to get a cornerback and a wide receiver that may not even play cornerback and wide receiver. But to Jordan,
well, he's also not. It can be fair. He's not super clunky compared to some of these people. Like,
right.
He is a pretty good on the mic. Like,
I think that's almost. I don't want to be too cynical, but almost part of the problem. He's almost too slick. On the mic.
He loves it a little too much. Like,
you almost start to wonder. Like, it strikes you as, I don't know, a little bit disingenuous at a certain point. Like, what is this guy really? Is he pumping up Travis Hunter right now and the Jaguars, or is he speaking this way just to let you know how amazing he is?
If it gets on Connor's radar, though, I kind of am fascinated by it.
The more I talk about this, the deeper I fucking bury myself when they win the Super Bowl next year, which is going to be so awful. But I have 2 quick
with incredible defensive tackle play.
So I have 2 thoughts on this. One, if I'm Liam Cohen, I'm like, oh shit, like don't talk about this guy, because then if I can't do it, then who's the owner going to blame when this guy isn't awesome? It's not
poor
you.
Liam Cohen. We'll get to Liam in a second.
But the second part of this, and I think that this is what I love about Jordan. She encourages me to find the roots of my frustrations and my problems. And my annoyance with this dates back to freshman year of college. And there was a guy who was in our circle. And when you're in college, your first year, and you're really bright eyed, and you have all these big ideas. I knew I wanted to work at a newspaper, right? So no one's going to come near me. I'm not financially attractive. I'm not physically attractive, but there's this guy who, was in the ROTC, so he liked wearing the uniform. And I have no problem with our armed services, but was also I'm a nuclear engineering major, and also I'm going to double major in law so I can do this thing. And he's a fucking substitute teacher now. And again, there's nothing wrong with that, but you can say all sorts of wild bullshit, but you have to do it. And so I'm one of those people that's do it first and then give the Steve Jobs speech about how you're going to change the world. Be Steve Kerr and win 9 NBA titles, and then talk like you're fucking, whatever, Beethoven. I think that's
Dan,
my
do
issue.
You feel lucky? Do you feel lucky at some times that Connor just kind of vaguely likes us out of the gate, versus that I've been thinking about this person since freshman year of college. I don't want to be on that.
This is pre-TNC Connor. He still comes out, and we love when pre-TNC Connor comes out because he's got that dog in him. Can we just, can we just? And yes, of course, the 2016 Chrysler Town and Country on the used cars to avoid list, and sure enough, right there. And it wasn't just 2016. It was 13, 14, 15, 16. It's like a dynasty situation of avoidance. But anyway, beside the point is that Liam Cohen, if you watch, in fact, help me out with this, Justin. Watch Liam Cohen's face, because I can't, as James Gladstone is giving this speech, I can't tell if Liam Cohen is inspired, or if it's more that look where it's get a load of this fucking guy. Let's right. give me a tight shot on Cohen during this speech, please.
In a non-branded polo, by the way, just a black.
He just looked at his watch. Yeah. He literally just looked at his watch.
Yeah. Got some guns though. But yeah, it looks disenchanted vaguely.
I don't know about disenchanted, but kind of
really?
I gotta talk too, Gladstone. You're sucking up all the oxygen on the dais here, bud.
That is a great point about that presser specifically. Liam Cohen was the 8th most important part of that press conference.
Which is a problem, because there was only 3 people sitting up there.
But again,
barely audible during it.
how much every single one of these
Jordan's
things,
going to be so disappointed with us
I
in
know.
this whole conversation.
Yeah.
I know. That's the worst part of it.
Yeah. Every one of these things is a move on a chessboard, right? And, football is this political, meat spinner of a disaster all the time, right? And it's who has the owner's ear at any given time. And for a while, it was someone else, some other GM in the Jaguars franchise history that was totally, in Trent Baalke, who was totally just sending this franchise on a wayward direction, but he had the owner's ear, and that's what mattered. And now, again, if you're Liam Cohen, it's like, what happens if this guy that the owner believes is absolutely going to change modern professional football? What happens if he has like 400 snaps at corner and like a 73% completion allowed rate? Like,
I don't want to go. We're going down this road
Yes,
again where
all right.
you're saying he's not going to be a dynamic player. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. But Liam Cohen's probably thinking, I'm an offensive genius. I'm so good at offensive game planning and execution that I was able to just kick my old team in the nuts and go over and get a new head coaching job in Jacksonville. So he's probably thrilled right now. You just don't see it because he's like thinking, when will my GM stop talking?
We are in so much trouble with Jordan, though. This is
We
like
are in trouble with
classic,
Jordan.
yeah.
And Jordan, because I know Jordan listens, and one of the many reasons I love Jordan is that she listens to our show religiously. I think he's good for the product. He's good. I'm glad Gladstone's here. Much better than the last guy, Baalke Bartakanis. Nothing to talk about with Baalke.
Right.
Joey Gladstone, tons to talk about. He's theater. He's box office, baby.
I probably got some familiarity with the them picks sort of process. So for our fans, I'll tell you, don't be scared. This is something I'm uniquely positioned to navigate, and we ended up with we ended up bringing Travis Hunter to Jacksonville.
He is like a young Bela Lugosi. Like, I'm a little concerned about like.
He's a man that adores the smell of his own farts. That would be my guess.
Let's put it this way. If you were to put him in a movie, right, and with no context at all.
He isn't in a movie, his own movie, right now.
Well, yes.
But bad guy, right?
Right?
Young bad
Like,
guy.
that's what I'm saying.
Yep.
Like
young bad guy.
You're
Yep,
putting
I know
him
where you're
into
going.
the movie, and
he's
like,
not the friend.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, I'm just saying that. That's
Yep.
Maybe that's
You're
a good
absolutely
thing.
right. Typecast, like we are as humans, we are directed and built to not like him out of the gate.
Well, not everyone. But we
Well,
maybe
okay,
we are.
but like
we're cynical f***s. So
well, we
true.
are, but I see where Connor's coming from. Like if you were to cast him, it's like a Zane, a young like Zane on Titanic,
Okay,
like a young.
so
Yes.
let me paint the yin to the yang on that. You could also cast him as the hyper idealistic young man that's come to save the town from the crooked bank.
But then we're
bank head.
changing
Yeah.
his character though, because like the whole.
I
thing
never
is
said he's
that-
evil.
No, but the way he the way I think to Connor's point,
Yeah.
I get where Connor's coming from on the like the casting side of it, and so would
this is a reference that maybe only Justin will understand because he's the closest to a child on this show. But like it reminds me of like the Lego movie where you have like Batman, Lego Batman, and all these like heroes that talk like heroes
Right.
and walk like heroes and act like heroes. But the actual hero of the Lego movie is just an ordinary guy named Emmett. And so, I think that I'm getting Lego Batman vibes a little bit from this, where like, yes, you are part of the solution, but the real hero here is going to
gonna
be
be a great
someone
year.
that's far more ordinary.
This is gonna be a great year.
it really
Can't wait. You know what I didn't love? I'll throw out something I didn't love. Okay, I'll throw out. The Ravens, man. They never cease to disappoint. Those guys, in terms of, they don't care what you think. The idea of character issues, we're fine. Justin Tucker's still on this team. How's that investigation going? By the way,
Sure, right.
like we're still waiting on that. You have
Party boys asleep at the wheel.
Yeah, they select Mike Green, 59th overall in round 2. Rap Sheet reported Friday that Green had fallen in the draft because of not one, but 2 separate sexual assault allegations. He wasn't charged in either case. Okay, and the only thing I'll say to that is when the GM, in this case Eric DaCosta, said that the team quote, investigated the situation very thoroughly, quote, and close quote, and open quote, felt comfortable taking him, close quote. Okay. Like, maybe that's true. And again, I don't know any of the details of Green's legal issues, so I'm not casting judgment on him. But it is interesting that it's the Ravens that are the ones that decide, oh, we're okay taking this guy despite all this stuff. Maybe when it comes to the Ravens, the fact that he could be a star edge rusher and he fell in the draft, you're just gonna game the system from that perspective. Ethics and morals be damned. So just the Ravens seem to. That pops up a lot with those guys.
Well, if you're going to do that with Baltimore, we have to do it with the fact that, like, Howie isn't a superstar GM. Well, he is, but, like, also Jalen Carter was available at that spot for a reason, you know, and he completely changed the complexion of that Super Bowl team. And so, you know, it is what it is. It's just, you know.
Right.
You know.
Maybe he's looking at that example more than digging through the past that might not be savory. But, and then the other one is the Steelers. I think that the situation with the Steelers, and I get it, especially in this draft, like they didn't love a quarterback. They obviously didn't love Sanders. They passed on that, and it's just all the eggs are in the Aaron Rodgers basket, and it continues to point in that direction. Rap Sheet was on the NFL Network coverage, and Art Rooney, owner of the Steelers, reiterated on the radio that Aaron Rodgers does want to come here, but they're still waiting for the old smokestack to come up. And it's just, you know, that's hopefully he doesn't change his mind, because now free agency's over and the draft's over. And if Rodgers, a man who's known to be mercurial, if that goes in a different direction, all of a sudden you're giving up 7 first-round picks to the Falcons for Kirk Cousins and caving to their demands, Connor. So you're playing with fire with Rodgers, and now they don't have any other option to take this other than their in-house guys, which we know are not the answer.
I would say it's Cousins, right, and potentially Derek Carr at this point too, that might give you an out. But again, that's two teams that know that they have you by the short ones, effectively. If Rodgers decides he wants to play for the Vikings or walk away or, you know, join the government, whatever he's going to do, you know.
Join the government.
Exactly. Hey, I want to give some shout-outs. How about Hook'em Horns, Gravy, UT Edge, Baron Sorrell. I got that right?
Sorrell.
Baron Sorrell, who chilled in the green room from Thursday night until pick 124 of the 4th round. That's stick-to-itiveness. That is a guy I want on my team. The Packers take him. Here was Rog, who came up to the stage and let the audience in on it without saying it directly. Hey, make sure you shower this guy with a little extra love.
This young man is here today, so we want to introduce him. So give him a good round of applause. With the 124th pick.
Look at him in jeans.
In the 2025
Hello.
NFL Draft, the Green Bay Packers select Baron Sorrell, defensive end, Texas.
There he is. Good for you,
Here's
Baron.
why the commissioner came out to announce it, because Baron Sorrell has been in the green room this entire time. And here he is.
I like the idea that he never went home either. I know that's not true, but he's just been wearing the same clothes for 3 days, hasn't brushed his teeth in 72 hours. Here he is. Baron Sorrell.
That's an
Good for you,
outfit that my mom has worn around town on occasion.
What else? Best names of the draft.
Okay. I got one.
Oh, we've got.
I got a bronze, silver, and gold, and just let me know if you agree, disagree, or want to add to it. Bronze, Isaac Tesla.
I think it's Tesla, but it's spelled T-E capital S L-A-A. So it sounds it sounds like an electronic artist that's opening at Coachella. It
feels unnecessary to me, but have a nice time with.
Can I just say very quickly that
what's unnecessary? His name? Mark, shame on you.
Putting a capital S, like I've got an S in the middle of my last name.
You got a C instead of a K, and nobody's giving you grief for it.
Yeah, but I don't capitalize. Like, do I capitalize? Like if it was Sessler, S-E-S-S-E-S-S, S-E-S capital S, like That
I hope
feels
he's
a
not.
little-
I hope
I'd
Isaac's
be,
not getting
you know,
caught up
afraid
in
for that.
I hope people aren't vandalizing him. They're not spraying him down. Just
Right? It's the one
leave Isaac Tesla alone.
It's the one Tesla whose stock is going up.
Oh! Way to turn a bad joke into a slightly better but still bad joke. Silver medal goes to Ruben Hippolyte II. Hell yeah. And the gold medal. And this one's a little personal because there was a kid that went by this nickname when I was in middle school who was a real piece of shit, a real dirtbag, the type of kid that you didn't want to be near. And if you were, he was probably trying to make your day very bad. But maybe that's what you want in a football player. Tonka Hemingway. Let's go.
What was the
Tonka Hemingway
was the piece of
Give me all you got. I'll take all that you got, Tonka Hemingway. What position do you play? I don't know. Who are you? Where'd you go to college? Don't care. Tonka Hemingway, you could play on my team anytime.
I like that you said so. The piece of shit kid that you grew up with.
Yeah.
We used to call my friend used to call them POS kids, piece of shit kids, which is like a really funny thing. Was his nickname Tonka or Hemingway? Because you said it was his nickname.
Well, no, his name is, we could bleep out his real last name. He was Larry
Oh, so the nickname
Your
was Tonka.
Your so-called friend.
Yeah,
nickname was Tonka, yeah.
Okay. I didn't know if his nickname was Hemingway, like maybe he was dumb and you were like, "Oh, hey, Hemingway, would you write me a sentence, you dumbass?" Or,
No,
you
it
know,
wasn't. It wasn't. I didn't know someone named Tonka Hemingway. I knew.
No,
Tonka.
I knew it was either Tonka or Hemingway. I just didn't know if it was
That would be
Tonka
incredible.
Or, yeah, like how you would call someone Einstein if they weren't smart. Like Hemingway seems like it's in that.
Like, if this Tonka's still alive, the one from middle school, I like the idea of him like being a 45-year-old guy that just got drafted in the league and is like a huge bully. But he was so stupid that it took him this long to graduate college, and now he's joining the NFL.
What a story!
Yeah,
got like 6
one
kids
in that scenario. Kind of one.
Deep lines on his face, like the Marlboro Man. All right,
I've
let's see
been
anything
smoking
else.
since 16. Like, cool.
The trades that didn't happen, by the way, kind of waited on something. One of these names. I know Sam Howell got traded, but have fun with that.
Low level.
Jalen Ramsey still on the Dolphins. Jair Alexander still a Packer. Mark Andrews still a Raven. Dallas Goedert still an Eagle. Trey Hendrickson not going anywhere at this time, although they did take an edge rusher in the Cincinnati Bengals in the round 1. Tyreek
Really
Hill,
good one, by the
still
way.
around. Yeah.
Really good.
Yeah,
edge
Well,
rusher.
I think
make
most
sure
of that is tied up to like post June 1, like avoid dead cap, hellacious spaces. Like with Ramsey, especially you can just you trade Ramsey today, you're like dealing with like millions of dollars of dead cap.
Yeah.
And it's not that much better then either. So that whole thing feels like a broken relationship.
Oh, a couple more things. And you guys jump in with anything either. Oh, the Ravens drafted a kicker.
Uh-oh.
Okay, that's good to know.
I'm sorry.
Baltimore selected Arizona's Tyler Loop in the 6th round on Saturday. Okay, 3 months after Justin Tucker, who's still on the team, was accused of sexual misconduct on a serial scale. Uniform talk. These kids of today. I mean, you do not, and this is coming from a kid of the 80s and 90s who knew who Lawrence Taylor was and what he represented.
Sure.
I know Abdul Carter is the number 3 overall pick, but Bud, we don't ask Lawrence Taylor to take 56 out of mothballs.
Well,
okay, Connor, he's literally Lawrence Taylor.
No.
I want to hear your take, and I'll just give you the Carter approached LT. And LT declined to give up 56 for the new Giants defender. The quote being, "He has to be the player that he is," he told ESPN, LT did. "He can't be another Lawrence Taylor. Well, he may be better than Lawrence Taylor, who knows, but he has to make his mark. It's up to him." Yes, Connor, your take on that.
Let's make a mark like Lawrence Taylor has on the world at large outside of football. Talk about that for a second.
Way
but
to go with it.
I have reverence for him, and this is not like an anti-LT take, but it's like you are incredibly lucky in the sense that you were this outlier athlete that one coach who turned out to be one of the greatest coaches in NFL history decided to just use you in a way that was extraordinarily revolutionary at the time. Like we didn't have fast guys coming off the edge, right?
You refer to Bill Parcells, right?
And Bill Belichick. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, we didn't use edge rushers like that back then. And this was the first. And, Lawrence Taylor didn't come to meetings. He didn't show up on time for anything. And so for him to have this, like, I earned it attitude, it's like, well, kind of, you were very special, but you were also used in an incredibly revolutionary way by two very smart people. And just like, give the guy your fucking number. Who gives a shit?
Wait a second.
Well,
Connor just says crazy stuff.
Wait a second. I can handle.
I like when
Connor.
I step in it with you. Yeah.
I can handle. Holy God, I can handle you poo-pooing the importance of Travis Hunter because he hasn't done anything in the NFL. So if you want to kind of bring him down, take him down a few pegs. Okay.
Yes.
But I will not stand for you on this program and this broadcast somehow positioning literally Lawrence Taylor as what, a system player who was happened to be fortunate that he had the right coaches to make him the player he was. Yes, he had two of the great coaches ever. But what you're saying about how he didn't show up to meetings and that guy doesn't even know what teams were playing in what cities, like. That was, to me, that burnishes like his legend. It's the same thing with like Mickey Mantle. It's like he showed up to half his games hungover with his ACL blown for 20 straight years, and he hit 536 homers and hit 300. Like it just almost speaks more to LT's greatness. So I have to call him a system player.
I have to weigh in
I
here because
can't deal with it.
Like the ageism that I deal with on the show is nonstop. But like I literally watched the early years of Lawrence Taylor where I'd hear announcers say like, this is one of the most impactful players in the league. Like,
Apparently not.
It's like a top 2 or 3 impactful player in professional football. And it was like, I didn't get it as a young person because he was a linebacker. And he's on like 5 bushels of cocaine and destroying quarterbacks, like, which I think is a talent, by the way.
Yes.
And the idea that we're just plugging him in as a Latter-day Saints type of like,
like a
system
jobber,
individual.
like he's Barry Horowitz or something in
like,
wrestling parlance. Like what?
This was a different type
You're
of
just winding us up now, Orr.
And Connor, I'd love to hear your response to it, but it's just like this. This was one of the.
I don't even know if his microphone should be on the rest of the show.
Well, I don't know if Bill Belichick. I don't know if Belichick gets the head coaching job he got in Cleveland without Lawrence Taylor.
But I don't know if Lawrence Taylor has the career he did without Bill Belichick.
Like Lawrence Taylor might be working at a gas station apparently if he didn't have Parcells and Belichick coaching him.
I mean, is that hard to believe though? They're like incredible outlier freak athletes and like special transcendent talents across history that never worked out because they were drafted by like the, mid 90s Carolina shitbags. You know what I mean?
Let's speaking of those types of teams, let's end the uniform corner with something else that's grinding my gears. The Tennessee Titans, they almost got out of this weekend without being in the crosshairs. I don't understand why you continue to poke the bear on this. Warren Moon, if you know, again, if you're an old head, you know that Warren Moon is one of the really great underappreciated quarterbacks of all time.
Could throw it as well as any quarterback in the league. When he
one
was
of the great, and in fact, if Warren Moon didn't spend the early portion of his prime in the CFL, and that was very much tied to the fact that he was a black man playing quarterback in the mid 80s, if the NFL would have given him the full runway of a career, we might be looking at him as a top 10 all-time player potentially. That's how good Warren Moon was. He did the most of his damage. I can't remember where he finished his career. Oh yeah, because he had great years with the Vikings too. Unbelievable player. But with the Houston Oilers, Warren Moon was the man, number 1 uniform. The Titans, I don't know if they greased his palm or what, or Warren just was given the opportunity to come out and be back in the spotlight, which I know a lot of these retired guys crave that, and I understand it. What a spectacle the Titans make of themselves. They fly in Moon to Nashville, not Houston, because he never played in Nashville, but they fly him in there to ceremonially hand Cam Ward, the number 1 overall pick, the jersey number 1, and I can't deal with it, Justin, enough. Just give up the ghost.
I think you're way off on this one, Dan. I think
Stunner. Justin disagrees on this one.
Yeah.
You're lucky you have the Titans Online Insider here to give you some more detail, because you haven't gone deep enough onto what's happening and why this happened. Warren Moon.
All right.
So Cam
That's
Ward.
Okay. Fair. Educate me. Let's go.
Cam Ward wore number 1 for Miami, and he wore it at Washington State before he transferred to Miami. He has talked about it throughout the pre-draft process. He was on a Fortnite live stream talking about which number he'd want to wear, and he has said
I didn't know that. I didn't know he was on the Fortnite live stream. Okay.
He's repeatedly said he wants to wear number 1, but it depends on what team I get drafted to. Well, after Thursday night, it was like, I want to wear number 1, but I got to ask Warren Moon. There was a report that Warren Moon is considering allowing his number to be unretired for Cam Ward. I'm going to play
unretired for what?
Considering.
I'm going to play you the Warren Moon sound from that the tweet we just showed. If you're watching on YouTube, he went up and spoke at the podium.
No. You
boiled up
some. You boiled up.
There's
some
only
Titans
99 of these
content,
things.
surprise.
Like, Dan, you're a Yankees fan. Like, how fucking dumb is this thing that, like, now 13 numbers are retired. Now 15 numbers are retired. Now our quarterback's got to be 68. Like, what do we do? Like, they're numbers. Just move on.
We're having 2 different conversations now.
Let me
play
the Warren Moon.
Let the past go. Jesus.
Let me play the Warren Moon sound so I can get to my point.
As far as the number and everything
Wait,
is
you
concerned,
haven't gotten to your point yet?
I wore number 1. I think I wore it very honorably for the Houston Oilers organization. And my Houston Oilers jersey will probably never be worn again. I hope it won't. But the Tennessee Titans jersey is going to be worn by Cam.
So
excessive.
The Houston Oilers jersey will never be worn again, I hope. And after this press conference, he answered some questions from media privately, wasn't broadcast. This is a tweet from my buddy Sam Phelan, who was also the runner-up on the last season of Survivor. He covers the Titans. Warren Moon just indicated to me that the Oilers uniforms may never return for the Titans. It factored into his decision to allow Cam Ward to wear number 1. Moon said the Titans will have new uniforms coming out soon. So, look, Dan, you're getting what you want. The Titans have already announced they're not going to wear the Oilers uniforms this season. And the information we got here is that part of the conceit of Moon to allow his number to be retired is that the Titans will never wear the Oilers throwbacks.
But Justin, you historically gaffed that as well. Like, you were a big proponent of them wearing.
I like it,
marching around in the Oilers uniforms. Like,
the point being, they're
Oilers
trying
thing.
to hijack the city of Houston sports history.
It's the same franchise.
By claiming Warren Moon as their franchise son, when he was never the Titans franchise's son.
He played for Bud Adams, whose daughter owns the team.
His legacy is in Houston with the Oilers, the team that was taken out of Houston and
so the
rebranded
Houston
the
Texans
Titans.
should have the number
Stop
1
trying
retired.
to take other people's stuff.
When the Titans picked Cam Ward, they put up him on the phone, like, come talk to Lady Amy.
Yeah,
that annoyed me. Like, come talk to Lady Amy. Like, who calls their owner Lady Amy? Like, that's what they were.
Miss
like,
Amy is what they call her.
Whatever.
Bud Adams is the
Amy,
one who
please.
found Warren Moon and plucked him out of the CFL and put him into the spotlight.
What does
It's
Bud Adams have to say about this?
Well, he's dead, and his daughter now runs the same
we can't let him rest in
organization.
peace.
How is this not a Titans retired number? This is a ridiculous take from you. I'm sorry, ridiculous.
Okay. How many games did he play for the Titans?
He played. All the Houston Oilers are the Titans.
No. How many games did he play for the Tennessee Titans? I'm just curious.
Well, he's on the Vikings or Seahawks by then, so
he didn't play for the Titans, which is why he's allowing.
I don't think
number to be
call
worn
it a hunch, jersey. Justin, but I don't think we're ever going to get on the same page on this one.
A hunch. It's a good hunch. All right, I'm out.
All right, that's it. That's enough. Listen, if you think that we short shrifted your team here, keep in mind next week is around the AFC in 48 minutes, and then around the NFC in 48 minutes with special guests. So we will cover every team in the week after the draft, and we hope you enjoyed today's ridiculous show and Thursday's live stream and Thursday's recap and Friday morning's Friday Fun Show. If you check that out on patreon.com/heedthecall. And Marc Sessler, I'll give you the final word.
if I were Jessica, I'd be like, I love that my man walks around in Titans gear nonstop, left and right, all day long.
Where's
and in
she
Titans
from?
gear.
What is that accent?
Well, no, she's like, if you can be you're from Houston, now you're from Tennessee, you're from Minnesota, you're from Seattle, we can shift our lexicon left and right to do what Justin needs. Suddenly she's got a Southern accent.
Well, that's what I get for giving Mark the last word.
Wait, Justin is like, I'm going
Jesus
to
Christ.
remove Mark from the entire show. I don't agree with that either. That feels racial. But it's been a wonderful
He's a
draft
top
week.
10 football insider.
Well,
I think we need to end it now. All right. Thank you to everybody. And we'll see you next week. Till next time, heed the call.